episode of Pit Lane Parlay.
Welcome to another episode of Pit Lane Parlay. My name is host Mike Jokum. Jess and Matt are joining me today. Guys, how are we doing?
Good.
Not too bad.
All right. This week's episode, before we talk about Gateway, is brought to you by Grip Mat, the world's first flexible non-slip tool mat developed by a genius Air Force mechanic. Use promo code PLP10 on their website for 10% off. So with that, let's dive right into it. Plenty to talk about Gateway and then, discussing the upcoming weekend in Portland. So a quick recap of Gateway here. Top 5 were Takuma Sato, Ed Carpenter, Tony Kanaan, Santino Ferrucci, Simon Pagenaud. Wow. I don't even know where to start with Gateway. Obviously, I watched it in a hotel room after my brother's wedding at, 4 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And I was blown away. So before we dive deep, does anybody have any thoughts on just the overall race and what you thought of it?
I thought it was fantastic. Kind of like you, I did not get to watch it live either. I watched it actually about an hour after it ended. Wasn't spoiled, though. I actually deleted the Twitter app so it wouldn't get spoiled for me and just muted my phone, basically. But, yeah, I loved it. I was intrigued pretty much the entire race. There was a couple lulls here and there of no passing, but overall – the multiple strategies and tire fall off, things like that, made for a fantastic race, in my opinion.
Just real quick, one more time, I want to read that top 5 so everybody can wrap their mind around it. He did say Sato, Carpenter, Kanaan, Ferrucci, Pagenaud. Do you guys know how hard it was for me being there watching this to not text you guys?
I can imagine, because Jake Neely texted me a couple times and I had to tell him to shut up. No offense, Jake, but you did almost ruin a few things. Thankfully, he didn't. But about 6 people did text me when a certain favorite driver of ours led 2 laps at some point in the race, which I did get a kick out of, and I'll allow that.
So I didn't get a text from Jake.
Yeah, well,
Oh, okay. I'll be sad to myself, I guess.
Yeah. Don't blame me for that one. So let's start with the easy question. Obviously, it was a crazy race all around. Do we have any consensus for a driver of the day and disappointment of the day?
Oh man, I mean, there were so many this time. I'm going to have to say that my driver of the day was TK. Didn't expect to see it coming. Obviously, we usually call them low-hanging fruit. Hate to say that, but we do. He, I think, even mentioned it in the press conference afterwards that he really was hoping that this would shut up a lot of the critics. So I loved that. And then disappointment of the day. Oh, that one's kind of hard too, but I'm going to have to say probably Bourdais. I feel like he really messed up not only his chance at winning, but also Ferrucci's. And I think it was just kind of one of those really unfortunate moments for him.
Yeah, Santino, got to be my driver of the day. He was fantastic. Rewatching the race a couple times, to me, he looked like the best driver out there for sure. Really kind of bummed he didn't get at least a podium out of it. But at the very minimum, I thought he was going to get the win there for the longest time. Disappointment, I'm going to go straight to last place in willpower. For someone who's come quite a long ways on the ovals to now, in my opinion, at least a top 4 driver on the ovals in this series, but more likely maybe top 2. It's not what I expect out of him to, crash 52 laps in the race and get in the marbles and crash. It's just not what I expect from him and a veteran driver like him. So that was pretty unfortunate to see, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I think you guys both have fantastic answers. I'm going to go with Connor Daly as my driver of the day, going from 18th to 6th. in a Carlin car, which hasn't really been super successful on ovals. So great job by Connor continuing his pretty good run of success here with Carlin. Even led one lap at some point during the race, but all in all, a very good effort by Connor Daly and the Carlin team to come home with a 6th place finish. Disappointment of the day is Spencer Pigot. He was up around, I don't know, 8th or 7th or 8th or 9th when he crashed, and just kind of continuing a rather disappointing season from the number 21 car there. So with that being said, Takuma Sato winning the race really on a strategy call by the Rahal team, getting him to the front. And I guess that got Ed Carpenter and Tony Kanaan up front too. So, but especially for Sato, is this the ultimate redemption after everything that happened in Pocono that we don't need to recap again?
Yeah, I mean, it's the best way to shut critics up is to just go out there and win, I guess. And, yes, there was a strategy call in place that I think, listen, there's a couple guys that maybe shouldn't have been up front that got a, lucky break there. But again, kind of like I said a couple weeks ago, everybody out there had the chance to do the same thing, and these 3 drivers pulled it off. So, congrats to them. And for him to get his 2nd win of the season, a normal slouch doesn't do that. So I think, for Sato is a really good comeback story. We kind of had agreed that, maybe there should be some action taken by IndyCar. I saw some hot takes about that on Twitter as well, that, maybe Sato shouldn't have been in the race because he should have been suspended or whatnot. But, it is what it is. He was on the track, and I think he really did make the most of it. And it was super nice to see him win. And he looked super happy in the victory lane there. So that was really cool to see.
Yeah, so got to agree with you on quite a bit of that. We'll say, though, that I think we kind of were part of those critics that said he should be suspended.
For sure. Yep.
we were part of that group. Maybe. I'm going to call us all right out.
We were, yep.
I won't lie. But, yeah, seeing that happen was, I mean, I can't say that it was the ultimate redemption, but it was definitely redemption. And I think that the only word I can think of was just pure relief. He looked like the weight of the world had been lifted off his shoulders after that happened. And frankly, I think that, he and the team kind of needed that because they were taking so much criticism and kind of just having to deal with it. So I think it's definitely good that he managed to pull it off, regardless of if it was strategy or, best car, whatever. I think he definitely needed it for sure.
Yeah, it was definitely great redemption. I mean, you could say that for all 3 guys on the podium, that it was redemption in quieting the critics or the haters in some way for Kanaan, Ed Carpenter, and Takuma Sato, especially Sato and Tony Kanaan. So moving on from that, obviously Scott Dixon had a rough day with a radiator failure, actually due to the fireworks launching a piece of debris from the Kanaan race back onto the racetrack. And the way Mike Hull described it was it went straight through the front of the car to the back of the car and broke the radiator. And I mean, that's just one of those 1 in a million things that's going to unfortunately happen. So with that, combined with, Rossi finishing back in 13th after a rough strategy call, which I may touch on later in the episode, does this give Newgarden a healthy championship lead that he should be able to hold on to?
I mean, yes and no. He was another one who came in to the press conference due to some other reasons that we will touch on later. But he even said, I should feel good about this, but I'm not that confident because there's still 2 races left and one of them's double points. So yes, he's got the lead right now, but just like what happened with Dixon, anything can happen. So I think it helps him, of course, but I don't think it wraps it up and puts a bow on it yet. Yeah,
especially going into Portland, last year was anybody's guess, a third of the way through the race, halfway through the race, as far as who was going to, win or finish on the podium. Newgarden did have a pretty good race last year there, but, that turn one is kind of a menace, and I really hope that none of the championship contenders get caught up in anything in turn one. And so Newgarden's big goal next week is just to get out maybe like a top 10 or so, because it's all really going to come down to Laguna Seca with double points. If Newgarden somehow starts last, that's going to make things really interesting at Laguna Seca. So I'm not sure it's over quite yet, but, putting points between you and your rivals other than Pagenaud is definitely a good step forward for him, and definitely building a good foundation, hopefully, to kind of have some padding going into Laguna Seca.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I will say, Scott Dixon being 70 points back almost has to win this weekend in Portland to be kind of in the running for the championship in the last race, unless everything goes wrong for the top three guys. But I think in the top three, Rossi's 46 points back. Last year, Rossi was 29 points back going into the last race. So if he can be somewhere 35-ish points back going into the final race, maybe even 40 points back, who knows? Maybe we get some fireworks go off and a lightning bolt and somebody's radiator dies again. So crazier things have happened, like fireworks ruining Scott Dixon's race. Moving on from that, I think Matt or Jess touched on it in their disappointment of the day. Sebastian Bourdais his accident had kind of secretly big ramifications, from Dale Coyne not having a potential 1-2 finish to Bourdais not winning or having a podium finish to unfortunately relegating Santino Ferrucci to a fourth place finish. Had things not played out like that and he had not made that mistake, do you guys think Bourdais was on a path to win the race?
I believe so. I guess I would just be intrigued to figure out, if things had played out, how aggressive Santino would have been if there's 10 laps to go and it was him versus Dad, as he describes Bourdais. So I think Bourdais would have had it. Hopefully Santino wouldn't have done anything too crazy, but he does seem quite aggressive out there. So it definitely would have been really cool. And it was, kind of a bummer to see that. Once I saw Sato, Carpenter, TK were 1, 2, and 3, I'm like, oh man, Santino just got, hosed. And not only that, but Bourdais is out of the race too. So Coyne just got hosed. So it was kind of a bummer to see, to be honest.
So I was listening to Santino's radio pretty much the entire race, actually. And Santino was 1 lap shy on fuel, so compared to Bourdais. So he was on a fuel save mode. So I have to say that Bourdais definitely had the advantage between the two of them. But I think if there would have been that same yellow with somebody else being the cause instead of Bourdais, I think it would have been a heck of a shootout for the win. So yeah, it was definitely unfortunate to see that happen.
I don't really have anything to add to here other than I find it hilarious that that Ferrucci calls Bourdais Dad, and that is one of the reasons I hope that Ferrucci stays with Dale Coyne next year. And I know that's a ridiculous reason, but just let me be easily amused on this one. So speaking of Santino Ferrucci, he was in a little bit of hot water with points leader Josef Newgarden on the last lap. Last corner, got a little high in the marbles, came back down directly into the racing line. What did you guys think of the incident? And then we'll kind of discuss the aftermath of what both of the drivers said.
I think that it was an unfortunate situation. I don't think that Ferrucci did it on purpose. His tires were covered in marbles. He was trying to save himself. Last lap of the race, I think it just was one of those instinct kind of things to, get down, get the marbles off, don't hit the wall, or just flat spin out, whatever. Do I think that it was anyone's fault? No, not really. I mean, I think it was just one of those weird racing things.
Yeah, if I had to, I guess unfortunately I didn't get enough of the replay, and I don't think there was footage of the replay that kind of showed the full thing. It kind of just showed the very tail end of it at the exit of 4, but I'm kind of curious to see what it looked like maybe in turn 3 or, midway between turns 3 and turns 4. Because the biggest thing I was curious about is to just see how much of a gap there was between Newgarden and Ferrucci when the incident was happening, because part of me wants to say that I feel like Newgarden maybe should have seen it coming a little sooner and checked up, or just, maybe not force the issue too bad, because he was pretty low on the track trying to avoid Ferrucci. So I guess I don't know, based on what we saw in the video, too much of the incident, just because I didn't get to see the beginning. But at the end of the day, I kind of agree with Jess that if anything, it was just kind of one of those racing things, and I don't think Ferrucci was acting out of malice or anything like that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, as a competitive driver, you're not just going to say, well, let me stay up in the marbles and just go slow. You're going to try to get back in there and do the best you can. Maybe he got in the way, sure, but I think Matt hits on really the point. I'm a little mad that he stole my point. And obviously, like Matt, I don't know where Newgarden was on the track, but trying to conserve your points lead, maybe if you see that happening, you should just kind of back off a little bit and play it safe, because what happens if, unfortunately, he did get into the back of Ferrucci? Then instead of finishing 7th, he's finishing somewhere around, I don't know, 14th or 15th if he can't coast to the finish line. So I get Newgarden's frustration and concern, but I don't think Ferrucci, quote unquote, needs to learn a lesson or anything like that. I think it's one of those racing things. It's going to happen at some point. Ferrucci probably will make a mistake on an oval and he will learn, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. So with that being said, one of the craziest stats I've seen since at least we started this podcast 2 years ago, this was the first oval podium for AJ Foyt Racing since Kansas 2002. I think I was a freshman in high school in 2002, or maybe, I don't know. It was a long time ago. That was 17 years ago. I wasn't even driving a car yet. I don't know what to say. I'm just going to leave it at that and move on to the next one. This is more of a question for Jess. I'm so stunned. I'm just going to keep on going here.
God, you're old.
Yes, thank you. What do you guys think? Has Gateway become one of the best races of the season? And then, Jess, since you were the pit lane parlay attendee this weekend, just your thoughts on the Saturday at the track.
So to answer your first question, do I think it's one of the best on the schedule now? Yeah, absolutely. Man, it was a show. I saw that it was the closest finish that the track has had. And it was just such an amazing race overall. I mean, the first 50 or so laps was a little bit, we'll call it blah. It wasn't like great. It wasn't terrible either, but it wasn't great. But then after that, it like all kind of clicked and came together, and it was just fantastic to watch. And then as far as me being there, the crowd, it was just phenomenal. The pictures are not doctored at all. I mean, it was just wall to wall people. And I feel like, everybody that I saw, everybody that I talked to was just having an absolute ball. So really, really good to see. Really hope they stick around for quite a while.
Yeah, I thought the whole race was a lot of fun. Everybody there looked like they were having fun. The people who run the event and put on the event looked like they were having fun. Chris Blair was excellent on Twitter all week, and shout out to him and everybody, Bommarito Auto Group and everybody involved with the race, because it's just such a good event. And yeah, I need to figure out a way to get down there next year, because just watching it at TV at home, kind of jealous based on all the action we're seeing. And it just looked like, a ton of fun, and drivers really like it. Fans are amazing. So yeah, I think it's definitely I would put it in the top 5 for sure, up there with Indy, Long Beach, and Road America, in my opinion. So definitely up there for sure.
Yeah, I agree. The whole weekend is just jam-packed with action. You've got the Kanaan series, which some people like, some people don't. Then, Indy Pro 2000, Indy Lights has a race. Obviously, IndyCar has a race. So you have 4 races in one day, which you don't really get at any oval, at least that I can think of off the top of my head. So, they do a great job promoting all over the place, up and down the Midwest. Numerous states have Gateway Promotions. I saw the pictures of the crowd. I think the attendance figure came in at over 42,000, and they were estimating somewhere between 30 and 40,000. So Chris Blair and John Biskey, and is the PR guy there, and the guy who owns the track, his last name is Francois, who I'm forgetting his first name, do a fantastic job, and I don't think Gateway will be going anywhere. So with that, before we move on, recapping our host-made predictions, I definitely bombed this one. I predicted Rossi would win by 2 laps. I did not get that right at all. And I said Ed Carpenter would do bad, and he finished in second place and almost won. So
we need to keep like a running score of this.
Yeah, I'm just going to boo myself there on that one.
Holy cow, Jess, he booed himself.
I heard it.
Wow.
Jess, let me see where Zach Veach finished. Pretty good, Jess. Ferrucci led 97 laps, finished 4th. Zach Veach, bad, finished 14th. Kind of a quiet, nondescript day. So, yeah, pretty good. Let's see here. Matt also not really that great of a day.
What?
Predicted Dixon would do well. Not that it was his fault, but he didn't finish the race. And James Hinchcliffe finished 12th, a lap down. Did lead 20 laps, so definitely not as bad as me. I'm definitely taking the loss for the week on this one.
Yeah, I'll happily take second for sure.
Yeah.
So wait. Does that mean I won?
No, I didn't win and Matt didn't win.
As I say, you sucked the least amount of us three.
Right.
Because I was getting a little nervous there because I thought I actually won.
Don't go too crazy, Jess. You know us men can never admit that we're completely wrong.
Jess, I was completely wrong.
Oh, that's funny.
Yes, screwed up bad. Anyway, with that being said, thank you to all of our awesome Patreon listeners who continue to subscribe and interact with us every day and every race. Doing some pretty cool things there. We're going to start doing a little live stream from maybe the media center one day for all of our Patreon listeners. So I'll just leave it at that. Your support is super important to us, and we love every single one of you guys.
All right, guys. So today I have Stump the Host. It's been a hot minute, but I hope you're ready. I'm going to go back. I can't remember if we did it last week or not, but I'm going to go back to, it's going to be related to next weekend's race. Okay. So there have been 25 winners at Portland since 1984. And of those 25 winners, only 7 of those have only won one time. Can you name those 7?
God almighty.
Yep.
So I saw one on YouTube earlier when I was doing some research. So AJ Allmendinger has to be a one-time winner.
No.
You are correct. That is one.
Oh, only a one-time winner at Portland.
Yeah.
Yes,
I thought you just meant like they've only won one career race.
No, only at Portland.
Oh, I was like, oh God, I have no idea. Oh, well, Takuma Sato.
Yep.
Bobby Rahal.
Yep.
Robert Dornbos.
Nope.
Oh, what's his name? He's on social media. I know that really narrows it down.
I was like, okay. I would give you years, but I don't feel like it would necessarily help you that much. Do you guys want years?
That would immensely help me.
What about, so he probably raced there in the 90s at some point. Zanardi, didn't he win Portland one year?
He won it more than 1 year. Okay, so do you want the year or no?
Yeah, sure. I don't know if it's gonna help.
But just
okay.
Just do like one at a time.
Hey, that's what I'm gonna do. So 1988.
Danny Sullivan.
That is correct. Okay, and then
he's definitely cheating.
I am not. Danny Sullivan.
1997. This is gonna be your hard one, I think.
Jill DeFerrin.
No, he won there more than once.
Dang it.
He won back-to-back years, I believe.
Correct.
1990s. Who's cheating now?
Nobody. I just happen to know that because I was watching them on YouTube the other day.
Okay.
I have no idea.
Jimmy Vasser.
Nope.
I'll have to give it one more.
This is going to be the one that's going to be very difficult, I think.
Christian Fittipaldi.
Negative.
Dang
He
it,
won. No, I'm sorry. Not Christian. Emerson won.
Fittipaldi won.
Dang it. Who was it?
Mark Blundell.
Wow.
Oh, that's right. The 3-wide finish. One of the best races ever. Dang it.
All right. 2001.
Oh, that's our buddy, race control man, Pappas.
Yes. Race control
Race
man.
control man. Nice.
And then 2003 will be your last one.
I know this. I'm going to give Matt a chance to get it first.
Bruno Junqueira.
Nope.
You got one more guess, Matt?
I don't think it was Bourdais. So who else was good in 2003? That was it. Carpentier.
Negative.
God.
Adrian Fernandez.
Correct.
Thank you.
So there you go.
I will take the win back-to-back weeks on Stump the Host. Thank you very much.
That's all right. It makes up for the other 52 times you've not done so hot.
Hey, whatever. I won the predictions, so that's all that matters today.
I'll win something here. I don't know. How many races? Has there been 37 races at Portland in all time? Well, don't answer that. Don't answer. That's okay. Because did you guys know, actually?
Jess actually said how many races there's been at Portland all time at the beginning of the question, so your question invalid.
Oh, yeah. What was that, Mike? Mr. Genius Guy?
24 or 25.
There's been more than that.
25.
Oh, my God. What are you? You're just the soundboard guy. All right, whatever.
Moving on.
No. I got a fact for you.
Okay, go ahead.
Did you know that Danica Patrick's 37 years old?
Okay.
Okay.
Wait, is this it? Is that your fact?
Yeah, that's it. That's a fact. It's been a long time since I've dusted off a Danica fact, but that was it.
Yeah, that was definitely a dusty one.
You kind of ruined my segue a little bit. I'm kind of hurt.
Yeah, that's my bad. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm not really sorry, but like I'll pretend I'm sorry right now.
It's been a while since I've done it. I don't know if I cued it correctly.
It wasn't your best segue. I mean, the best segue was
Sue.
I forget what. Yeah, Sue. That one was by far the best one ever. So with that being said, I'm going to jump right into the music here before Jess does the next segment.
All right, guys. So I got you with the Stump the Host. Now, are you ready for the Joker lap?
I doubt it.
Probably not. What do you mean? I'm the one who hasn't won anything yet, although I don't think you can win the Joker lap.
Yeah, I don't think it's really like a win-lose type thing. It's mostly just so we can all get a good laugh.
Well, unless it's like a hospitality tent, and which would you rather eat at? Because I lost that one too.
Well, that's because you picked crab singles.
Yeah, we don't have to. Yeah. Fair. I'll own that forever.
Okay, so obviously we talked about it. We talked about St. Louis put on one heck of a show. I was there. I saw all kinds of things. I sent you guys some pictures. I was like 2 feet away from a bald eagle. His name was Liberty. I got to be about 2 feet away from the Stanley Cup. That was like amazing. Obviously never gonna have that probably ever happen again.
Neither will the Flyers.
I am not even going to comment on that. And then there was I know it probably isn't Scott Dixon's favorite thing, but those fireworks were amazing. Everything just was great. They did a really, really good job. So they're coming back next year. They let the cat out of the bag. So they announced it. They're going to be back. So if you are trying to top this year, what are you guys going to do for the fans next year?
Metallica is going to play on a floating stage above the track in between each race.
Wow, you had that queued up really fast. I'm actually kind of impressed.
I
want to know how you're going to make the stage float.
I haven't thought that far ahead. Maybe a helicopter of sorts or 4 helicopters. Let's not get into the specifics here, guys.
Hey, if you can get the Stanley Cup to show up, you can get a floating stage.
Okay, yep, I like
too
it.
Far out of the realm. Oh God, what would I do? See, I'm boring. I don't know if this is.
We noticed Craft Singles really cemented you in the boring category.
But that's me going out on a ledge sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. Otherwise, it's just salt and pepper. I don't know. It's almost like I'd have to do like a focus group first to see what people would want. I mean, me personally, I would do, well, maybe not. I was thinking like dollar beer night, but that has not worked for some franchises in the past. Most notably, I think like the Cleveland Indians used to do that, or was it like nickel beer or something? And fans just started throwing the cans on the field. That might be a Cleveland thing. I don't know. I don't know if dollar beer night's more feasible than a floating stage.
Maybe. I don't know that there's...
We shouldn't talk feasibility here. We should talk unrealistic fun.
Oh, sorry. Unrealistic fun. We're going to put a levitating bungee jump cord thing in the middle of the field that people can anti-gravity jump off of.
Okay. I'm going to take the win on this one.
Hey, well, you can't declare yourself the winner. It's not your Joker lap.
That's a fair point.
I mean, he just wants to take it just because he wants to win something.
I know. So competitive.
I'm going to call it a draw, guys. I'm just going to call it a draw. That way I still have a win and I feel better about myself. So
Yes, I didn't lose something.
Yay!
That's fair. Since I took to stump the host, we'll call that a draw.
Yes. Off season's upon us, and I sense another trivia night coming. I don't know about you guys.
Of course.
Yeah, that should be fun. All right, well, we do got a fan question to get to. This is from our good buddy and Patreon member, David Lighting Jr. And yes, we are 9 days away from Bears-Packers. Today is Tuesday, so yep, still nervous. He wanted to know, which silly season driver signing were you super excited about that didn't pan out, or they turned out to be a flop, and why? And specifically, obviously, we're focused on IndyCar here. So which silly season driver signing were we hyped about, and then it kind of fell through as far as not being as cool as we thought it would be?
So one more recent one would be, for me, J.R. Hildebrand. I guess that was 2 years ago at this point. After being hyped up on, his oval prowess and his overall racecraft, and because he's, the smartest man on the planet. I mean, the dude is really, really smart. He really, outside of, I think, Iowa, had a pretty lousy 2017 or 2016, whatever year it was, season. So that was one I thought was really going to help Ed Carpenter, and it did nothing.
I'm gonna flip flop this because I was having trouble coming up with one to fit that. However, I immediately thought of one that I was super disappointed about, and it turned out to be great for the series and for the team, and that was Alexander Rossi.
Oh, good. I like what you're doing here.
Yeah, I mean, I was like not happy, and I know a lot of people were not happy because of some of the comments he made. But then he came over and, man, just blew everyone away. So I had to flip-flop the question. Sorry about that, but I thought that was a good, needed to be mentioned one.
Yeah, I can comment on both of those because I'm definitely in the same boat as Jess. Back when I blogged, I had some words for Mr. Rossi. Actually, I had words before he even thought about coming to IndyCar, because in 2014 or something, he was bashing IndyCar pretty hard, and I took some umbrage to that. And then when he came over, I wasn't looking forward to it at all. And then now, one of my favorites, and I think one of everybody's favorites, really. With the Hildebrand one, it still irks me that he says he focused a lot of the year on setups and not about pace. And to me, I don't get why you would do that when you're trying to keep your job. So, yeah, Mike, I agree 100%. That was pretty disappointing. I thought of two. The first one was from last year. Pietro Fittipaldi, I thought, was going to just be excellent, generational driver. Got the Fittipaldi name. Just seemed like he'd fit right into IndyCar. And then now he's off to DTM after doing some Formula One testing, which he still sounds like he may be doing next year, but he's more focused on the German DTM. So it doesn't look like he's coming back to IndyCar, which is super sad. And the other one would be Rubens Barrichello. He had a lot of hype coming into 2012 about, one of the best F1 drivers coming to IndyCar, a huge name around the world. There's still a race in Brazil at that time. I thought he was going to help the series grow, and then he was one and done for KV Racing. So that was super disappointing. I thought he'd be around for much longer.
All right. I'll take another stab at this here. Some people might dislike me for this one, but Mikhail Aloshin, the crazy Russian or the mad Russian or whatever they called him, started out, they said, oh, this guy's, great from the whatever he was racing in before, sports cars and whatnot, and then crashed a lot. And outside of maybe podium or two, really did nothing. And then Sam Schmidt kind of just got tired of him in 2017, and he wasn't in as many races. And I can certainly understand why.
I loved Aloshin, but when you're an owner and you're at the point of replacing Aloshin with Sebastian Svedra, something obviously went terribly wrong somewhere.
I shouldn't have laughed that hard, but that is legit a great point because I really liked Aloshin too, but it's just because I enjoyed his craziness. So, all right, guys, let's move on. We need to talk a little bit about what's coming up this weekend, and that is Portland. So excited. Going to be a good race again. I'm really sad I don't get to be there, I don't think. Still keeping my eye on plane ticket, but right now it doesn't look good. So last year, the top 5 were Sato, Ryan Hunter-Ray, Bourdais, Piggott, and Dixon. I mean, you got to be a little bit curious to see what Sato's going to do. I mean, obviously, he had a rough go of it a couple weeks ago. There was a lot of talk, then he came back and he won. Now let's see what he's going to do this weekend. And then obviously going into this championship, we're to that point where it's starting to get to be go time, for lack of a better word. Obviously, Newgarden is leading. Pagenaud, he's 38 points back. Rossi is 46 points back, and Dixon is 70 points back. I mean, I don't know. Do you guys think that Rossi or Dixon can still catch up to Newgarden?
Yeah, it's, double points mean if you can stay within, I'd say 35 to 40 points, maybe there's something crazy that happens and Newgarden crashes out of the last race or crashes out this week. There's still a couple hundred laps of racing left in the season, maybe 200 laps of racing left in the year. So that's plenty of time. Yeah,
so more for Rossi in my opinion than Dixon, but we've seen Scott Dixon do some crazy things. So I would not rule him out until he's mathematically eliminated, which would be pretty hard after this race. I think he would need to be about 80-ish points away from Newgarden to be mathematically eliminated once the green flag flew next weekend. So I would say Rossi for sure is definitely not going to be out of the hunt after Portland.
Yeah, I agree. I think Rossi is going to be right there. I personally think that Scott will probably be eliminated after this weekend, but it'll be interesting to see, honestly. I don't know. Again, you can't count him out, but he's kind of far back there, so it's getting close. We did find out that Kimball is going to be in that second Carlin car. What do you guys think?
I think it's, I was kind of caught off guard because, for the longest time, Carlin's been saying that, or Trevor Carlin's been saying that, Kimball's strictly at 5 races. That was after Pato's news way back when. So to see him kind of jump up in the car, super surprising. Hopefully he does well. It's today, Tuesday. The entry list still hasn't come out. So hopefully there's no more surprises on there. But yeah, I think Kimball hopefully can just keep it clean and finish the race.
Yeah, I mean, good for him. He had a pretty good showing last week. And the race before that, Pagenaud, he finished 10th or 11th. So he's had a solid, shortened season. So I think he's definitely earned this chance, whether it be because of the sponsor or Carlin not being able to, find the money for somebody else. I've got no problem with it. I'm sure he'll have a safe race. And unlike years past, he really hasn't kind of done any punting of any other drivers at points. So I know he's only been in 4 races at this point, or 5 races, but I think he'll do half decent this weekend.
You guys both kind of tiptoed around it. I'm going to go kind of the opposite way here. I think he's going to punt someone. I think he's going to be Back to the Charlie Kimball that we all know and love. So, I mean, I'm glad that he's got another chance because I think that if he does keep it in one piece, he does well. But I am very shocked. Didn't see it coming at all. So it'll be interesting to see. And I hope I'm wrong. Honestly, I do hope I'm wrong. But I just feel like we're kind of lacking some of that Charlie Kimball this season. And I feel like it might be time.
Didn't he kind of sort of wreck Piggott, though?
Kind of, but...
Maybe more of a racing thing.
Yeah, probably. So on that note, are we going to get through lap one? Or is it going to be a hot mess disaster?
Oh, man. I'm going to go with hot mess disaster. Having that tight of a corner on the first lap, on the second to last race of the year with 3 or 4 guys fighting for the championship and other guys just being aggressive because they want to win a race or finish on the podium. Yeah, there's going to be something that happens, whether it be in the front or towards the back of the field. There's probably going to be something that happens.
It's just a matter of determining who's going to go full send into the first turn, because I think somebody will, especially with how tight they've been doing the starts this year. I think somebody from mid-pack or so is going to make a crazy move, and just a matter of figuring out who. It might be Kimball. I guess like Jess said, we are kind of due for one here, but I guess I kind of a follow-up question. What do we got to do for race control to officially give like a designation for caution on track, hot mess disaster?
I think there needs to be a new flag, honestly.
We need a flag with like a monkey on it.
How about a dumpster fire on the flag?
There you go. With a monkey coming out of the fire.
That's official. There's been a hot mess disaster on the track. Be aware.
Yeah, so I hate to have to agree with you guys, but yeah, we're gonna. I don't think it's gonna be clean. It would be super nice if it was, but I have a feeling it's gonna be a mess on that first lap, and I think that's gonna really set the tone for the whole race. Honestly, I just feel like it's gonna be one of those like really crazy ones for some reason. But like I think it was Matt said, the entry list, unfortunately, is not out at the time we are recording this yet, but we're still going to do our predictions. So who wants to go first? Good and bad predictions for this coming week.
Me. Fun fact before I start. Do you guys remember Alfonso Solis Jr. was in this race last year? Useless fact. I know, but I didn't even remember he raced in this race last year until I looked at the standings from last year's race. So
is he 37 years old?
I don't know. He might be. Who knows? I don't know anything about him. I'm going to say, again, I'm going to stick with my prediction from last week. Rossi's going to have a good race. He qualified well last year in Portland, third, led 32 laps, and I think had to pit towards the end because he was low on fuel, if I'm not mistaken. So Rossi's going to do well, and my prediction for not doing well, I know he finished well here last year, but I don't think it's in the cards for Spencer Piggott.
Oh, man. I thought you were going to say Ed Carpenter to kind of stick with last week, because then I could have laughed at you.
I needed to be more specific so I can have a better chance of not losing so bad.
Oh, okay. Well, just so we're clear that you lost your predictions this week, that's fine.
Yes.
I don't know. Mike's making me want to kick it up a gear here and just make sure I can win next week. So I'll go with the championship guy. I'll go with Josef Newgarden. I think he did have a solid race there last year, and he's definitely going to be motivated to kind of try, like I said earlier, to give himself as much of a cushion at going to Laguna Seca as possible. And with the crazy strategies we saw last year, I definitely think Tim Cindric's up for pulling a rabbit out of the hat. So definitely think there's some potential there for a win. On the negative side, I can't pick Marco or the Foyt guys. It's kind of just like an unwritten rule at this point. I'm going to go with Marcus Ericsson. I feel like there's just been the second half of the season, he had a really good Detroit race, number 2, where he finished on the podium. And then Texas, he was fine. He showed good pace. But then ever since then, once he got to Road America, it's just been like a downward trend for him. So just kind of based on the research here, it's just kind of been on a downward spiral of being okay / below average / getting caught up in stuff. So I think, especially at a track like Portland where there's a lot that can go wrong, I think we may see Ericsson collected in something at some point.
Let's see. I think I'm going to go with Sebastian Bourdais for doing well. You guys both kind of touched on it's going to be down to strategy, and we all know Dale Coyne knows how to do strategy. So I'm going to go with Bourdais to do well, and then I'm going to be bold here. I'm going to say Scott Dixon is going to have another unfortunate weekend. I don't know if he's going to get caught up in that lap one monkey dumpster fire flag thing, but I definitely feel like luck is not going to be on his side this weekend. So that is going to be my prediction for doing poorly.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for everybody's favorite jingle, brought to you by our kind pal Andy, who put this together for us.
And now it's time for Pit Lane Parlay's Pitfalls of the Week.
And before we get to said pitfalls, as last week, our pitfalls are sponsored by Craft 1861. You can go to Craft 1861 and put in promo code MJOKEM for 10% off your order. I did not make the promo code, so don't give me a hard time. And Craft 1861 is all natural CBD products for your health and wellness. And they also are part of R.C. Enerson's program, as you may remember from earlier in this year. So with that being said, let's just go right down our little notes list here and have Jess start us off.
So I know that I had something listed, but I'm going to throw you guys for a loop, which is just my style at this point. I'm going to go off note. I'm going to say Josef Newgarden and his tiny little tirade after the race is going to be my pitfall. I appreciate what his sentiment was in his interviews, that he felt like Santino did him wrong. I can understand that, but I think that what he lost sight of was Santino is also fighting for a championship. And so he had every right to save himself too on the last lap of, a race that is important for points. And he has to remember that, just a few races ago, he made a mistake on the last lap of a race and, ended up in the grass. And so things happen, but you got to fight on the last lap when you're in a championship race. So I think Santino, like we talked about earlier, I think he didn't do anything intentionally. I think he was just trying to save himself. And I think Josef kind of overreacted.
That's fair.
Yeah, well said. And, I just watched Josef's rookie season himself. And I don't remember word for word if he acknowledged that part in his interview where he said, Santino's young, I bet he'll learn. I think he said something along those lines. But, everybody's been a rookie at some point and everybody's prone to rookie mistakes / just kind of maybe not being aware of certain situations. But, yeah, I think it was definitely overreaction on his part for sure. So good call there. Mine is something that bugged me after Iowa and then kind of relit a flame after Gateway. And it's, we've been complimenting Gateway as far as, the amount of stuff they have for fans to do and to witness and things like that. And one of the things they had this weekend was the vintage cars. The vintage cars, or a select amount of vintage cars, were also at Iowa. And right before the qualifying session, these cars go out there. And at Iowa, one car had some sort of mechanical failure that dropped oil on the inside lane of just about the entire track. And then at Gateway, I didn't watch qualifying, and I don't know. I think it may have just been like turns 1 and 2. But again, one of these vintage cars dropped oil on the track, and they had to put the speedy dry down, which definitely reduces grip. And so if you're one of the first drivers out, like Connor Daly was for both of these venues, you're going to have a poor qualifying effort because you're not going to be used to it. You're going to be the car out there that's kind of sweeping up the mess per se. And I just think it's ridiculous. I think these kind of things shouldn't be happening before an official IndyCar session. Like if it was after qualifying or something like that, or I don't know, some other better time of the day. To me, to put these cars out there right before qualifying, and I don't know if there just needs to be better inspection of these cars or whatnot. Obviously, they're a little older, so they're going to be prone to these things. But I just think it's absurd that some of these guys who have to qualify first keep getting punished because of the oil dry on the track from a vintage car leaking fluid. So a little peeved at that. Hopefully something can change so we don't have to keep doing that in ovals.
Yeah, I can't argue that. It's not the first time this year. I think the vintage cars have had some sort of oil issue or whatnot. So I'll round it out here before we wrap up the episode. I'm actually going to pitfall, whether it be Rob Edwards or whoever made the strategy call for Alex Rossi to not take fuel on that last caution and then try to play the fuel save, which just ended up A, not working, and B, crushing his, I don't want to say crushing his chances at winning a championship, but definitely did not put him in a good position. If you take into account what happened to Newgarden and Rossi being around sixth place, he might have actually gained a few points on Newgarden after last weekend had he just pitted for some fuel there. I'm not saying it definitely would have worked. Obviously, hindsight is 2020, but the call to not pit was a terrible mistake.
Yeah, can't argue that. I mean, it definitely did not help his chances. That's for sure.
Yeah. So with that being said, unless we have anything else, I think, Jess, you are free to sign it off.
And guys, keep your lug nuts tight.
Here is your Racecast weather forecast for the IndyCar Grand Prix of Portland. I'm meteorologist Doug Schneider. Well, this week's forecast is going to be short and sweet because the weather looks great for Portland this weekend. Both Saturday and Sunday will have sunny skies with morning low temperatures in the lower 60s and afternoon high temperatures in the lower 80s. Winds will be from the southwest at 5 to 10 miles an hour. For the most up-to-date forecast, check out racecastweather.com.